Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Into the Composer's Mind. This is episode number 2, and it's a continuation of some of the introductions which I provided yesterday into this project. The project is a new composition and giving some insights into the composition process and the thinking that goes into the creation of a new work. Once again, thank you to Canada Council for your support of this project. So yesterday I gave an initial idea about what the instrumentation was going to be based upon what our different family members are playing. I made a little bit of a mistake. The husband of my brother Carl, Chris, he plays clarinet, not bass clarinet, so there'll be no bass clarinet in this particular piece. But I'm looking forward to another addition. Another family member said they play the ukulele. I didn't know that, so maybe we'll have some ukulele in here as well, and some more offers for different family members to sing. So we have quite a large palette of instruments to choose from. It'll be really interesting to look at or to see how the different timbres progress throughout this particular composition. I decided that it'll be about 5 minutes long, which is it's kind of an arbitrary number, but again, it's not totally arbitrary. There are some technical issues around virtual recordings, and going beyond that, it's a little more difficult to coordinate. And of course, there's also if it's going to be used for different memorial purposes, you don't want to be having too long a piece. So that is one of the reasons for putting it at about 5 minutes. Should be good enough to provide the kind of feeling that I'm hoping to give in this particular piece. Speaking of that, I haven't really talked about that. As I mentioned, it is a kind of a family memorial to my father, but it's also a celebration of all of our family getting together for the first time in 30 or more years with all of our musical talents at the same time. So it's a bit of a balance between a celebration and just some remembrance. So that sometimes tempers the tonal centers that the music goes through. So that's always an interesting thing to look at. It's part of the form of the piece of music, and we'll talk more about the form tomorrow as some of the ideas develop. Once myself as composer get into a project, the ideas start to come fast and furious, and quite often it's even hard to sleep at night, and you find yourself waking up several times and trying to write things down before you forget them. One of the ideas we talked about yesterday was the use of the Gregorian chant as a basis for some of the melodic material. And that will also guide us towards some tonal centers for the piece. Tonal centers are just another way of saying the key that the piece is in. We're used to seeing the key of C major, the key of A minor. Tonal center means that the piece is kind of based around one particular tone, say the note D, or the note F, or the note A, and some of the different timbres associated with those tones, and also some scale material that may emerge that's related to that. Another consideration for the tonal centers, of course, is your instrumentation. And this particular piece has a variety of instrumentation with strings and brass and woodwinds, kind of similar to what you have in an orchestra, with a mixture. It's not for band, it's not for just strings, and it involves a wide variety of instruments and timbres. So the particular choice of tonal center really isn't a factor for the performance. The string players aren't going to be happy with some sections. The woodwind and brass players aren't going to be happy with some sections because it's not in their favorite keys. But as usual, all the players, as professionals, adapt to the particular requirements of the piece. So I did mention yesterday we were going to be dealing with some Gregorian chant, and I chose a chant in particular from the July 7th material or mass celebrating that particular feast day, and showing you from the Liber Usuralis, this big book here, which contains all of the Gregorian chants. And I did do a transcription of those of the chants, the three main chants for that particular day, and you might be able to see them on the screen behind me. I just used the keyboard and inputted the tones into the score, and that gives you at least a start on the blank page, gives you some idea of what you're dealing with. Of course, your ear already hears that, but it's good to get it down on paper. That also allows me to get a little audio file, and you'll hear some of that in the background for this recording as well, just so you have a sense of what the tonal centers might be. Those chants are interesting. I was a little surprised with the tonal centers of the chant. One is centered around F, one centered around D, and one centered around G, with different modal scale material. I'm not going to go into the details of the musical, the choice of the harmonies and the particular nitty-gritty of modes and scales and things like that. Those are more technical issues. This is just concerned with the composition process, what I'm going through in my head to come up with this particular creation. So one of the things is, of course, just determining what key the piece is going to be, what the tonal centers are. And quite often people say, well, why does a composer choose D, or why does they choose A, or why does they choose C, or and there's lots of literature and programs dealing with the theory behind the different colors, the different vibrations associated with these different keys. It's very similar to colors. Some of you have your favorite colors because each color has a certain vibration to it, while the different tonal centers also have a series of vibrations associated with them that most people feel have an emotion associated with it, just like different colors have an emotion associated with them because of the vibrations they send out. So that's one of the reasons for the choice of tonal centers, why all music is just not written in the key of C. So our choices have been made, or my initial choices have been made based on these chants, and we see them in the score behind me. The kind of the next part of the composition process is kind of looking at some of the generic motives or little themes that might be inherent in the chant. 2 or 3 note patterns that repeat, particular groupings of pitches that can be used and developed into a bit of a longer melodic structure, or will then later be used as the basis for a harmonic structure as well. So an awful lot of material is inside those simple chants. They will provide the basis for some harmonies and basis for some melodic structures. Of course, after you've determined that, you get into your counterpoint and your timbres and all sorts of different ways of creating the composition based on the materials that you have. So that's a little bit of an insight today into what I was doing, what I've been thinking, and how the melodies start to emerge, and how the tonal center the piece starts to emerge, and how that is related to the overall mood of the piece that you are hoping to generate. Of course, there's lots of other factors that will deal with that. The articulations, the dynamics, the tempos, and all of those will be choices that we'll be making along the way, and we'll be working at how to determine what those will be. So far, I haven't had to look at the material and say, okay, what do we have to throw away? I haven't had to evaluate any real compositional process yet. It's just kind of laying out the material like the artist would do, getting out the color palettes, mixing the colors together, and seeing what will emerge from that particular combination of materials. And it's good to see that there are actually some notes on the page behind me, and I look forward to tomorrow's episode, where I'll be talking a little bit more about how those particular melodic fragments that are in the chant will be extrapolated to create some melodic structure. So once again, thank you for listening to this and watching this video, and I look forward to the next time tomorrow, when we will continue with the looking into the composer's mind.